is it the case that when they've got these games against Liverpool and City out the way, will everything else just feel a bit easier? Well, does it work like that? The way I'm thinking of it is, when you go to the gym, if you lift something really heavy, then you go back to lifting something that you normally, and suddenly it feels like it's a feather. It's like
I sort of push it up a bit and I go, no, put it down, pick up my Snickers.
Yeah. You say that though, Kels.
But if you had a mini Snickers,
Kels, I remember when we came up and we had to play against Liverpool, and it was Liverpool. We played against Liverpool, and it was everybody knew what that was like. It was like pinball. We couldn't get nowhere near it. And we was looking at the fixture list, and we saw that Coventry, and then you see like who else would it have been? Sheffield Wednesday, whoever it was. We're thinking, those games we'll be able to get something out of those. Those games were just as hard because they were wily, experienced First Division teams at the time, and so you're thinking you're getting something out of those guys, but it was hard. It was even harder then because they're looking at you feeling like they're not experienced enough, and they'll just do a job on you. They'll do it. I think Coventry beat us 1-0, Kels, and it was really tough. We couldn't get nowhere near them. They stopped everything we were doing, and then bam, I can't remember who scored the goal for them, and he was like, that was just as bloody hard as Liverpool.
It's almost a different sort of hard, isn't it? So, like, when you talk about Virgil's ball and Salah brings it down, they might not be able to do that part.
But then it's the work ethic. The work ethic. And then they'll have somebody in the team who's got a little bit of quality about him. And then if you've got someone who's wily in respects of a centre-forward who takes the chance, before you know it, you're 1-2-0 down. They'll come up against Brentford and Bournemouth and things like that, and Ipswich will go down to Portman Road and they'll feel, this is a game. And then they'll be very, very tough games.
I know you wanted to move on to Liverpool as well in terms of their performance, particularly in the second half. You talked about Arne Slot's patience with the way that things were going, but he did make a change at half-time when he brought Gerald Kwanzaa off as well. I mean, there's a ruthlessness there as well.
It was, and
proactive. I think it's good. I think it's good to see that from a manager. I don't think Kwanzaa necessarily did that much wrong. I just think he saw something in that change that will help affect the game tactically better for Liverpool moving forward, and then it worked perfectly.
He actually said he felt like they were getting on top of Kwanzaa, and so they brought him on, and it did change. It changed it in respect to the ball over the top, what they were trying to do. But again, what I was looking at with Liverpool, which was really good to see, is top players in the moment, not panicking with the pressure, the man-to-man, and then especially in the second half, Ipswich come out doing it, and they just passed it around, bam, 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 and just a couple of mistakes, we're getting a little bit tired, bam, you're 2-0 down within 5 minutes.
I think the psychology of the win was so important for Slot, for Liverpool, for the players as well. I like what he's done, Kels. He's come in and he hasn't changed too much. And I know there are people saying, well, they haven't made signings. But I think about David Moyes going into Manchester United in 2013. He'd taken over a side that had just won the league. There was so much positive about what they'd done over the previous 25 years. And yet he changed so much unnecessarily for my money. And that cost him, not just him, but the club for the subsequent decade. Whereas Slot's gone in there and he's seen a team that's competed at the top of the Premier League for a number of years. He's seen that they've got fabulous young players. They've got a terrific attack. Yes, they might need a little bit more in midfield, but Zubimendi from Real Sociedad didn't want to come. So you go into this match with a very settled side that has the belief of the manager. Nobody, you guys probably know better than me, no one's worrying about, does he want to sell me, does he not? Because he's kept faith with them all this time. And if he does bring something in, it's going to supplement what they've got rather than replace players that have already done a super job, and the quality is there for everyone to see. Jota, I think this season will be outstanding. Had he been fit last season, they probably would have competed for the league. And I think that Nunes might be a little bit nervous because I think Jota's a guy who takes his chances. Nunes has yet to convince people that he can.
I want you mentioned there about the grumblings about a lack of signings at Liverpool and not being able to get a deal over the line for a number 6. I wonder if this could be quite a tense transfer window overall for Liverpool in terms of not just trying to bring someone in now, but also in terms of keeping players. There's talk around Mo Salah, there's talk around Trent Alexander-Arnold, there's talk around Virgil van Dijk. and some others as well. I would just wonder how big a transfer window this could be and what effect that could have. I don't know if we can't really judge any team properly till the transfer window is closed, but this could be a big one for Liverpool.
I think, obviously, we're not really used to a player turning Liverpool down, obviously, especially under Klopp. And what Liverpool have done and what they've done so brilliantly with their recruitment is that they've targeted who they've wanted and they've waited for that person. And if they don't get him, then they'll just wait. They won't just buy it. Liverpool won't do that panic buy. They'll only, if they feel like they're getting out of the top four, then they'll spend some money. But Liverpool, you know, the only surprise I've got with the whole thing is Zubimendi not going. You know what I mean? Turning Liverpool down. That was a little bit of like, whoa. But like, they haven't panicked.
No.
You know, they'll wait and they'll see how it goes. And then I think that Liverpool, especially with what I've seen in the way they've started, and you're right to mention Jota, because he's the best finisher alongside Mo Salah, but him down the middle, very, very clinical. And I think that what I've seen up to this point, and it's not a lot, obviously it's the first game, that they're not going to panic.
No.
They're just going to carry on and see what comes up, Kels. But they do not just say, oh, we didn't get it, Zubimendi, we'll go for him. They'll just chill.
They don't really need to. I think, of course, in the transfer window, you want to see new players coming in, but I think that they've got a squad that can deal with that. I think they've shown it over the years. I think Curtis Jones can do a job in there. You've got Endo that, for me, played really well last season, and for whatever reason, he's not starting this year. So I think they have enough players to deal with that midfield area, and you know they got the defence and the attackers they got at abundance as well, and all they need is a little bit experience, which they was getting last year anyway. So I think they're in a perfect place, especially for this year and next year, just building up and that squad growing in the right way.
Yeah. So do we think challenging this season?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. I was just checking. I was like, yes, absolutely. Okay, fine. Message received. Well, we talked about Manchester City picking up where they left off. Similarly for Liverpool, even though they're under new management, particularly in that second half performance, a lot for Liverpool fans to look forward to. And we'll talk about them in a second. But I wanted to start with the other side of that coin and talk about Ipswich, because they've come up to the Premier League. They've got 7 players who started yesterday who played for them in League One. Yeah. And they put in a creditable performance.
Yeah, and it's good, to see him, his interview afterwards, he was so concise about what he was saying about how well they done. And they did. And like you mentioned there, the 7 players, and giving them the opportunity to be at the top end, you know, coming up through the leagues and then playing in there. And they done themselves justice, especially in the first half, doing that man-to-man job on Liverpool, which really knocked Liverpool out their stride. Got to say, Arne Slot, he did not panic, kept going, but the way that they played and the way they approach it, and they've got City next, it's going to be brilliant for them to have those 2 games at the start, because they'll learn so much. There's no way they're going to be able to do that man-to-man against these players for as long as they can, as long as they want to, but they need to score in those moments. But they will have learned so much because they put so much work in.
Yeah, the fitness levels are going to have to be better. The time and the ball that they enjoy in the Championship, they will not have that in the Premier League. And the need to take their chances when they come. They will know that is...
There he was. Seen him again.
Was Ed Sheeran there?
At first I thought it was like silhouette, and I thought, no, I can see the shape of you.
Yeah.
I see what you've done there, dude.
Sometimes you shouldn't do your thinking out loud.
No, maybe not. But like, what they done, Kels, like I say, was but Liverpool, and the way that Liverpool handled it, you know, the crowd was obviously very, very up for it. It's brilliant. They went down, and the experience and the quality that Liverpool showed, and then obviously we saw it in the second half. It was really good to see.
But that's what's really interesting, I think, from Ipswich's perspective, just to stick with them for a moment, is you talked about them learning from that game, learning from Manchester City next weekend as well when they take them on. And one of the things maybe they learn is the intensity of Premier League matches from start to finish. There's no drop-off. There are no sort of quiet moments. And although Ipswich did create a couple of chances, one excellent chance in the game that maybe they should have scored from, it was the consistency of it and the kind of the intensity of the whole of the game.
I always say, and people always say, it must be hard, like, running out there. I never think of the physical side of it. I think about how quick you think in the Premier League. And I remember when I was in the Championship with Man City and we got promoted, and you go into the Premier League and you think, hold on, I can get that ball there. And you go to get it and the ball's already gone. Yeah. That will be what they learned from that Liverpool game, especially in the second half as they started to tire. Remember Dad showing in a green one talking about Trent. Trent didn't do anything spectacular or anything quick. He just looked like he was going to go that way. But because he, in his head, knows he's already going that way, he kills the defender and puts that beautiful ball in, which Jota should have scored from. And I think that's the part they have to get up to speed with quicker, because in the Premier League, if you sleep for a split second, the mental side of it.
I heard a player once describe going from the Championship to the Premier League like standing in the middle of an air hockey table.
It goes so quick.
What you learn quickly as well in the Premier League is that they'll do things where because they're obviously used to the Championship, they'll do things where they'll think, oh, this ball's like Virgil van Dijk's ball to Mo Salah. Took it like 40 yards.
Yeah.
Right, and he's probably thinking, when you look at the defender, he's thinking, oh, well, his touch was perfect. The ball was perfect. The touch was perfect. Now he's got a massive problem. And maybe in the Championship, those things where you think, oh, well, he might not be able to control this. He will be able to control that, and he will be able to punish you. And that is what they have to learn. You cannot give Trent Alexander any kind of time in that scenario. None at all. You can't let Jota get on it, and if you're not tight enough, and you think, oh, should I be tight? And then you go, it's too late. And that is what they learn. And this is why I'm really pleased for them. And it might sound like, cruel, but that they've got Liverpool and Man City in the first two games. They will learn so much so quickly.
I've got a soft spot for Ipswich. I started my career at the Daily Mirror covering them when they came up in the early noughties. And when they came up, they stayed up. They finished sixth that season, and they were fabulous under George Burley. They got into Europe. They played a great style of play. But even since then, the game has evolved. It's so much faster. The fitness levels are higher, largely because of what had happened at Arsenal. The calibre of players in the league now has gone right up now. So this Ipswich has got so much more to contend with. But, as you say, these two matches are the best possible team talk that he could give to the players, because they will see it in action. They're up against Haaland in the next game. We saw the way he played. He's had no Euros. They've probably been feeding him raw meat.
He just looks
sensational. Absolutely. The cryo chamber. He's going to be fabulous. So it's going to be hard for them, but they will learn from that.
But what will happen, Kels, is that they'll get them two games out of the way, and if they can keep up the intensity, and like Darren said, that if they can score the goals, they'll get the joy, because not everybody's going to come and have that excellent quality and that elite playing style. It's what City, they'll probably experience with City and Liverpool. So when they play against teams that are a little bit off it, and they do take the chance, they're going to beat some teams down there.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations to Mr. Slot. Not easy following Jurgen Klopp, obviously.
Nope.
First half, Ipswich did really well first half. We'll talk about them in a second. What did Liverpool do in the second half not to turn that around, but to assert their authority?
Yeah, they showed their quality. Got the ball out wide. They passed it a lot slicker. I heard Szoboszlai in his interview afterwards, he said we moved the ball a lot quicker, a lot sharper. I'd never judge a team match day one, good or bad in the Premier League. Liverpool 12:30 kick-off away from home against an Ipswich side that are going to be buoyant coming back up to the Premier League. They were quite intense. So Liverpool had to try and manage that. I think a few words were said at half-time. Arne Slot was brave in taking Jarrod Quansah off because he lost a lot of battles.
I don't think he has to say anything. If he takes a player off at half-time, that says it all about the demands.
He lost a lot of duels. Yeah, he lost a lot of duels against Delap. So he brought Konate on. And the players just sort of... It's a weird one. It's quite hard to try and get across the fans, but sometimes when you're very leggy, when you're playing in your first game, the first 45 can be harder than the second 45 because you want the lactic acid, you want your lungs to open up, you want to run. And in the second half, you'd be a bit more free. And I think they showed their quality in the second half. They were so much better.
It's almost getting like your second wind.
Yeah.
First half, I thought Ipswich played well, to be honest. Kieran McKenna, good manager. They played the right way. But the second half, I think Liverpool's quality and the way they just pinned Ipswich back, the sustained attacks, couldn't get out, really suffocated them, It was attack after attack. And Jota's goal, it's a fantastic goal. You can see what they've worked on, just that.
Bearing in mind, he missed the header, and he's so good in the air. That's
all from Trent, though. What a
ball.
Trent.
And the pass here, and to be even the finish there, it makes it look easy, but it's a difficult finish because
I don't think many fullbacks play this ball, Jermaine.
No, they do. But he's got that sort of quality. But
he's a finish here because he just lifts it a little bit.
He just lifts it and that. Yeah. But he's such a good finisher. He gets these chances and 9 times out of 10 he'll take them and that. But brilliant goal.
The finish is not a hard one. You've just got to make sure you open up your body with your left foot. He missed a header before that, and then Salah does what he does on the opening day of the season. He's prolific, isn't he?
9 times he scored on the opening day. No one scored more than that. He gets a little break of the ball there, but bang, then
the subtle difference from what I can see from Arne Slot to Jurgen Klopp is he played with 2 number 6s, played with Gravenberch, played with Szoboszlai as a number 10, McAllister as a number 6 as well. But listen, when you've got players like Diaz, you've got players like Salah, and I looked at Liverpool's bench yesterday. Incredible bench, you know.
Yeah.
Like any one of them players on the bench could easily have started that game.
There was a point last season, let's be blunt about this, there was a point last season, there's goals on the opening day, going up to the game at Old Trafford, the league game, where they were in control of the league.
Yeah, 5 points clear at one time.
If they'd won that game at Old Trafford, which they should have done, really, they probably could and should have won the league. So there's no reason why they shouldn't go close again, just because they've changed
That's why they're in the conversation. I hear people talking about a 2-horse race. I'm thinking, Liverpool were 5 points clear last season.
Exactly.
I think with that system as well, if you play 2 holding midfielders and that, just that sort of that security and just allowing your forward players to go and win games, you know, they'll definitely be up there this season.
And even missing out on Zubomendi, they still got it because Endo didn't play yesterday, did he? So they've still got the ability to play 2 6s.
Gravenberch played something different.
Yes.
He played as a number 6, so he wants him to sort of fulfil that role.
Salah always hits the ground running because he looks after himself so well, does he? So it's never a question of him getting back up.
I don't think he's doing 2 weeks 9 appa like we used to do.
I don't think
I've never been there.
I don't think he's doing karaoke standing on tables, is he?
He loves a picture as well. He loves a selfie in that. But he's a machine. So robust. He plays every game. Yeah. But he loves scoring goals. He's all about numbers. He knows that. He knew before the games. You know what? You know, there's Alan Shearer, Wayne Rooney, Frank Lampard. If I score today, I'll go top of the list. And that he knows that. And you know, it's brilliant.
How should Kieran McKenna, 24 hours on, reflect on the way they played and the sort of stead it can stand them in going forward?
Well, it's Man City next. So, I mean, welcome to the Premier League.
The computer is a sadistic thing.
Yeah, but the closing down and the organisation, you can see the numbers in the square line there, and no one's really just running out of position to try and press. And then when they go forward, they were quite a threat. It was just the final ball that was missing. They had half opportunities. But I think when you're playing in your first game back and you draw someone like Liverpool, it can be a little bit daunting. But they weren't overawed.
No.
They competed. They ran hard, as what your manager wants. He'll work on some finer things like this, the final ball. That was just a yard short. So it's the concentration. It's the fitness levels when you play Liverpool, Man City as well, because the second half Liverpool ran all over them.
And they didn't capitulate. Could have easily lost for 3 or 4, couldn't they, once Liverpool had got into their stride? Yeah. It's just moments like this, isn't it?
Yeah, it's that final bit. I think in the Premier League, this is why the Premier League is the best league in the world, because you know, once you do get your chances, even half chance, you have to make the most out of them, because no disrespect to the Championship, you may get away with certain things if you miss a few chances, but the Premier League, you're playing against top teams, then you know you're going to get punished.
And do you know what I think he'll do as well? Unlike Vincent Kompany last season, I think he'll tweak his style. I think he's clever enough, Kieran McKenna, to think, I want to play season. I think he'll tweak his style. I think he's clever enough, Kieran McKenna, to think, I want to play good football, but I'm not going to sacrifice the results. No. If I need to tweak things and go defensive,
to give ourselves the best chance of staying
absolutely.
up.
Yeah, because even with Burnley, quickly, like if your principles are, it's a big thing about playing out from the back, and you want to play attractive football. Even sometimes if you go long, I don't even think that's changing your principles. It's just sometimes you have to adapt to the game and or realise who you're playing against.
If you've got to beat the press, sometimes you need to
have to go long. Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, it's taken us till part 3, but we are going to talk about Arsenal. A 2-0 win against Wolves, and a fairly
business as usual,
steady. It felt like business as usual.
You know something? It was. I was really pleased. I was really pleased with the way it went. I had a feeling that they would come out. They'd come out strong simply because they know what they have to do. You know, you're chasing down City. I'll probably say that's not the first time you're going to hear that this season. And you have to start.
I feel like just listening to people's predictions, there's a bit more confidence around Arsenal this season.
You know what, Kels? You know what I'm thinking, though, guys? Darren, Sean? I'm thinking people are so desperate for someone else to win. They're throwing Arsenal in as the little brother. You go and see if mummy's doing that. You know what I mean? It's like, I just feel like, yes, Arsenal are very much challenging for it. We saw that last season.
It's only 2 points.
It's only 2 points, but it's still, you know what I mean? And I still fancy them to do it, but it's going to be tough. I thought they started the game very well. There was a spell where Wolves kind of came into it, which was a little bit of a worry, but then we got the next goal, and it felt very military. They got the job done and continued to build now.
Dad, ain't you worried though? Like, I think in terms of Saka, Declan Rice, Saliba, but they haven't had a break. They've basically gone through nearly 2 years, and now they're going into like the third year straight.
You know, it's a good question simply because when you look at those guys, our main guys, Saka, Saliba, Rice, Gabriel, none of those guys, Erdegaard, none of them got injured. It's a big worry. But what was good to see was Saka getting taken off in that
game. For 10 minutes.
Obviously, you know, I know there's still signings to be made. Some kind of cover for Saka would be helpful because the levels he's getting to, the amount of games he's playing, at some stage, he does need a break. So it was good to see him come off. But at the same time, I love the intensity in which they started the game and the way they ended the game.
Do you know, funnily enough, I'm not going to talk about the offence. I'm going to talk about defence because they are so good at the back. Yeah. They're so organised, and that is always going to provide the platform, not just for them to compete for the league, but for the offensive players to do what they do best. And I think bringing in Calafiori was a great move because he does give you that depth in that position. But Jurrien Timber looks like a new player, you know, because he didn't have him for the whole of last season. And he is quality anyway, but slotting into a side where he knows now the way to play, he understands what the job is. It just gives Arsenal as a team, as a unit, so much solidity and a great platform.
Well, that's what
build.
It was last. It was listen. What was it? It was 5 goals. I think we scored less than 6.
Yeah, 5 goals.
You know what I mean? Losing out by 2, by 2 points, Kells, and people saying, "Are you going to buy someone? Do you need to buy someone?" I think if Gabriel Martinelli and Gabriel Jesus have better seasons, I think they can fill that void of those goals. Yeah. Arsenal know they're going to need to get 90-plus points. And like I say, it was a really business-like start, and now you're hoping that certain players will just step up a bit more, and they're going to need to have that same kind of fortune with the injuries.
What I think is going to be also important is that now they know how high the bar is. They cannot slip. They slipped in December. They lost games against West Ham and a couple of others as well. Fulham as well.
When City were off at the Club World Cup and nobody took advantage.
Nobody took advantage. Then they went to City and they were in a defensive mindset rather than a front foot mindset. That's going to have to change if they want to beat City this time around because City have been very similar to Liverpool. Not that many changes. And yet they still go in with a settled side, same mentality, real hunger. Arsenal going to have to now, with that pickpocket story, I'm sure everyone's heard it already. They had an event. Arteta hired a pickpocket.
It's really weird.
No, it's not.
It's really weird. You should explain it. You should explain it, Darren. Because
so they had an event and Arteta hired a pickpocket to basically go through a few of the pockets and take some of their stuff. And when he told them to turn their pockets out at the end of the night, they were missing some items. And he said, that's a reminder to always be focused on your surroundings.
That is weird.
What are you saying? He needs to have a day off? You know something? I just think that we're dealing with...
But do you know what? Sorry, just what I keep thinking about when I hear that story is the player's reaction. You know, that second after he said that, see, always be alert. Yeah. And then just the players all sitting around going...
No, I think it's been like very visionary. It's you know, innovative in trying to motivate, finding another way to trying to motivate a set of players that have 2 years have been getting closer and closer and trying to find another way to get them to think about being aware. And you know, I think
the first goal Arsenal conceded, though, obviously the comment had his pocket picked.
I just thought it was banter. I just thought it was him having a laugh and the boys reacting the way they would have possibly reacted when they realise all their stuff's gone. And that's most probably when he's come out with, that's why you should be careful with your surroundings, know what's going on, be alert. I don't think it was necessarily for the game.
Also,
it's for a mindset.
Who hires pickpockets? Like, where does one go?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I need a pickpocket.
I need a pickpocket. I'm fairly sure if the police had access to that and they could just Google how to hire a pickpocket, they
Don't
could
worry,
clean
we'll
up.
pay the bail money.
On the Instagram.
Pickpocket sale.
But like, you know something, again, Mikel's done something now that's given people another opportunity to point the finger at him saying he's trying to find another way to motivate.
Actually, you know what? I do agree with you. I think that we come from an era and everything is changing around us. Technology, the media industry, everything is changing. And the way that managers communicate with players is changing as well. We are long past the point where a manager can see something in the newspaper, cut it out and pin it on the dressing room wall. We're way past that. We saw in the documentary, he finds lots of different ways to put across the messages he needs to. There's a terrific one where he holds up a light. You're going to laugh at this again, but he holds up a light bulb and he says,
Jesus, Kels, whenever you let him finish, I haven't heard the light bulb story.
That's so ruthless, and he says, you know, look, we need to form the connection to the fans that basically creates the electricity in the light bulb.
Brilliant.
But it is a really lovely analogy, and you're right. Everybody's so creative. It is. It's important. No, you're right. It is important to find fresh new ways to communicate. Otherwise, the messages become stale, and
they can't afford to do that.
You can't get that through. You can't get through to the players. And
I think this season is a test, as much a test of him as it is of the players, because obviously it's that once you finish second 2, 3, 4 years in a row, sometimes are you the issue?
Yes.
You know, maybe us as English people, English men, women, we're looking at the England national team and thinking we had a manager who couldn't get over the line. Maybe people might say that about Arsenal. So it is a little bit incumbent on him to find different ways to get that team over the line.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I
wonder in a way if that was the perfect start for Arsenal, because it was sort of...
You know, Saka again, you know, was fantastic. But like you said, sometimes, you know, there's different ways to win football matches. But I think, of course, you know, performances are important, but, you know, the results are the most important thing, especially the first game of the season.
Result, professional job, move on.
Exactly that. Clean sheet, Saliba, Gabriel, exactly like last season. Zinchenko played well. He's now got competition for places. You think of Calafiori coming in, Timber back fit. You look across that back line, really, David Raya was excellent in goal, pulled off a great save from Strand Larsen. But Bukayo Saka was off the charts good, Mark. You know, this is a kid who can take players on. He's got quick feet. He's sharp. He gets kicked from pillar to post. He's durable. He's hard.
He played all the Euros and he played, and we just mentioned the Man City players not, but Arsenal put him straight back in.
But he's formed a relationship with Kai Havertz where, look, we've seen him do his defensive work, and, you know, it might look pretty basic, but then he's off, but he's quick feet. This is the one, I think, where he manipulates the ball double quick, and you can't get near him. You can only potentially foul him. As I said, he's durable. When he gets kicked, he never stays down. There was a tackle in the game. It wasn't a particularly bad one, and he had a little sort of limp.
You like the teasing cross.
I love this one because it's brilliant. A lesson to any kids. It's like it's put in an area where he's more or less saying to Jose Sarr, "Come on, you think you can get this?" But the cross is just too good. The goalkeeper in the end's in no man's land. Quite an easy finish from Havertz.
Yeah, but what really impressed me about Saka is he's so strong. Like, he knows that he's not the biggest, but the way he uses his body, you know, it's credit to him. He must do so much work in the gym and try and tick every box to get these performances. And when he gets into these positions here, it's quite interesting. Because normally he goes to the other corner, but it's so clever way. He knows there's bodies in the way. Goalkeeper can't really see it, and he just reverses it with pace in that corner there. It's a fantastic finish.
And presumably going forward for the rest of the season, goalkeepers see that and go, right. But a bit like the Kovacic goal. We would expect it normally, a goalkeeper to go to my right as he curls it in there, but we know he's got that one now, so the goalkeeper's a little bit unsure.
But you can tell when you watch, you can tell that he works on that. That's repetition every single day on the training pitch. You know, he comes inside, and you know, and he goes, like I said before, you see him go to the other corner, but now he's actually reversing with pace as well. And to be honest, even if the goalkeeper can see, I think if you hit it with that sort of pace, you know, it's difficult to save.
He's missed 3 games in 3 years.
I'm telling you, he's hard as nails.
Yeah.
Honestly, there was a tackle in the game, and as I said, it wasn't a particularly bad one. And he had a limp and he looked a little bit uncomfortable. And I said, give him a minute, it'll be fine. That's all he needed. You know, he's a guy that's got unbelievable quality, strong, durable, great attitude. He's a player. Doesn't matter, I think, who you support, you can't help but fall in love with Bukayo Saka because you can see the smile on his face and you know that he loves playing the game. Yeah. He absolutely loves it.
Let's talk about somebody. This might be a bit emotional for you, but wherever he played, he was super Kevin Campbell. Whether he played for Arsenal, played with you, played at West Brom, played with Forest. You loved playing with him, didn't you?
I was at his funeral last week and it was tough. The church was at capacity. It was a beautiful send-off. He's a man that is just a guy with a massive heart. Doesn't matter what room he'd walk into, we'd light up the place. And no surprise that Arsenal paid their respects. Goodison paid their respects as well. And
growing up in London, was Super Kev? I mean, you would have had heroes you would have looked up to, wouldn't you?
Of course, obviously everyone knows. I mean, I loved Wright.
Yeah.
And seeing those two, the celebrations and the dances, and it's quite funny actually because Kevin Campbell was one of the first footballers that I actually met, because my first Sunday league team, he actually at a cup final, he handed out the trophies. So you can imagine for an 8-year-old what that does. You know, you've seen like these heroes on TV, and then I just remember, you know, being so excited, and you see him, and he was just such a nice guy. And every time I've come across him, you know, the gentleman, and you know, condolences to his family. It's a massive loss for the football world for sure.
Absolutely. He really was a lovely man, Kevin Campbell.
There is lots to get our teeth into, although it does feel a little bit like we're still playing. Like I've just pulled on my boots. I'll be honest, I've had a big summer. I'm not sure I'm ready for this just yet. Maybe take me to about the second or third international break to get going. Darren Lewis is here, Sean Wright-Phillips is here, absolutely raring to go. But there is lots to talk about, and it does still have a little bit of pre-season-y feel about this. It does feel there's a little bit of caution. Some of the players are just starting to tire a bit in games.
Yes, because like that pre-season, you know how you really do blast and you're trying to time yourself and pace yourself for the first game, but you're not really at it properly, but you just want to be showing signs that you are. But the main thing that you want to do, especially if you're at home, is you want to win. You know, obviously you want to put into practice what the manager's been asking you to do, what he wants you to do. But, like, the main thing is you want to win at home and you don't want to get any injuries to start with. You want to just have a blast through it.
Yeah, and Dad as well. You've got to remember, I think the Euros being on has caused a lot of that backlag in terms of people getting fitness, because a lot of people haven't been in training. If you look at the likes of the ones especially that won the Euros, I felt sorry for Cucurella.
Jean-Philippe Mateta, who's got an Olympic silver medal and only arrived back last week.
They haven't really had a break, so you could see, especially Cucurella, he started to tire as the game went on, when normally, you know, he's up and down. So I think that played a massive part into it, because if you saw Kevin as well, he weren't really pressing as hard as it normally was. He was just making sure he got through the game, managing his body.
Kevin your friend, Kevin, or just De Bruyne?
All right, Kevin De Bruyne. He's jealous. He's jealous.
If we're playing that game, I was chatting to Pep yesterday, and he said about his players, because I asked him that question. I was working, I wasn't chatting to Pep. But, and I asked him that question about, you know, the players and not having had the preparation that he would ideally like. You know, yeah, but a lot of them have known each other for 9 years, so they're fine. That seems reasonable. It seems absolutely reasonable. But it's good to have it back. What stood out for you, Darren?
John Duran scoring at the weekend. West Ham wanted to sign him a few weeks ago. They couldn't agree a fee with Aston Villa. He obviously was motivated because some of the fans were unhappy with him. He'd been maybe getting ahead of himself, doing a few West Ham celebrations. But on the weekend, he was hungry like a wolf. See what I did?
Yeah, I know. It's one for the kids, a little Duran reference there.
Exactly. Well, if he'd have scored twice, that would have helped a lot.
Yeah.
But he looks a super player. And just to go back to what you were saying a second ago, he's a feature of some of the big teams that they've really beefed up their squads to bring in players like him who can step into the breach, because the margins were very fine last season. Arsenal lost the league by 2 points, and the margins at the bottom were quite low as well. But Duran looks a fabulous player. The way he took his goal, the celebrations afterwards, it was so good to see.
So it's good for Villa as well, Kels. I know we're going to go and talk about other stuff, but Villa needing to keep that squad fit and strong, and people coming off the bench and making an impact is vitally important to him.
Because you loved that moment as well of Duran's goal, didn't you?
I do. I did love that moment. But for me, I like debuts, goals. I was quite pleased with Xerxes for Man United, because I wanted him to come on in the Community Shield. I wanted to have a look at him. And he came on and you could see a little bit of difference with Man United, the way he linked play. But then I think that the way he got into the box here, and it's just one of those where, you know, he's not dreaming that that's going to be his first goal, but he's got in the box. What Man United need to do, they need to get their centre forward in the box just to get on goals, just to get on things like that. So I was pleased for him with that one, and I was pleased with this one with Onana, because he's somebody that he played very well in this game. He looks like he's got a particular job to do, and that is to try and get in the box, break things up, and get in there. And he done that brilliantly in that game.
You scored that early. What does that do?
It's amazing.
It feels like you can do anything on the pitch you want.
Because you know the thing is, when you're making your debut, all you want to do is do well and not do anything wrong. You know, the fans are going to give you support, but if you can score, it takes you somewhere else. It takes you somewhere else.
For us as journalists, when a new player comes into a club, there's so much hype around. What them to do is do something at least to deliver on that hype. So you've got something new to write about. You want to spend the hours after the game asking people about them, finding out details about them, especially for the Monday newspapers, because obviously everyone's all over it on a Saturday and in the evening as well. So what you want is something new that you can tell the public, the wider public, the football fraternity, and maybe even bring onto a show like this.
Yeah. Perfect segue. I thought that was. Sean, what was yours? Other than Darren's brilliant link there.
I was torn between two, to be honest with you. I'll tell you the final one, but the Aston Villa second goal, just the three subs coming on, the way they linked up, how cool it looked, and the finish at the end. But I think the one that tipped it for me was Kovacic. I think returning back to Stamford Bridge, people were talking about, can City win without Rodri? He's been doing this all pre-season once he got back, but to walk through that midfield that they spend so much to get, and they sold him for 29 million, and then to put the ball in the back of the net like that, just to put the game at ease, for me was massive.
He was outstanding. Yeah, I thought he was outstanding yesterday. Go on, Dan.
And I was going to say, it's a really good context, actually, because they sold him. They felt they could do without him. And they sold him to Manchester City for £25 million, just like they sold Jorginho to Arsenal for a similar amount of money. And Kai Havertz as well. They lost patience with him, sold him. He's been superb for them. Kovacic went past £225 million worth of midfielders to score that goal. If anything is an indictment of the transfer policy at Chelsea.
We are going to come to that, but on that game, Savinho and his 45-minute cameo for Manchester City. I tell you what it is about.
Does he look like fun, Kels?
He does look like fun. It's an Arctic Monkey song, but it's like Manchester City have been for years this team that you can admire and you can appreciate everything that they do, and everything is so controlled and it's so. I like a little bit of chaos and a lot of fun, and I think Savinho can bring that with all the. He's got a bounce in his step, and he's just joyful in the way that he plays. It's not a technical point; it's just an energy point. It's going on the vibes.
You know, it's one of those Kels. He made you feel good while he was watching the game. That's what it's about.
I've always said this that you sometimes forget what a player's done, but you never forget the way they make you feel. I had that feeling with Dennis Bergkamp when I used to watch him, and he used to do his moments of genius. And you used to think, where did he get that from? You can't remember the specifics of who he scored against or whether it was the second or the third goal, but you can remember the moment of genius, and that's what Savinho brings.
It's kind of Arctic Monkeys to Maya Angelou.
Honestly, it was kind of like that when I was playing. My first thought was not only to play well, but to get bums off seats, because I'm a winger, so I have to entertain as well as create. If I can get bums off the seats, then they'll keep going and they'll keep my confidence at a certain level. And I felt every time he got on the ball yesterday, even me, I was like, OK, let's see what he's going to do now, sort of thing. So it's brilliant to see.
How do you judge if someone's a good winger or a great winger?
He, for me, in many ways, just like Matoma when he first came, is a perfect example, because even though he went past Cucurella, especially when he beat him, the pass wasn't on. He stopped the ball, held it up, waited for everybody, and still played the right pass. And if you watch Yamal, he does a similar thing. But if he's got the beating of you, he will beat you. And if there's an option in the box, he will get it in there somehow.
It's end product, end product with him, what they do in that moment. This is why it's going to be interesting to see how it works with Jeremy Doku, because some of the time he was flying past people, and then his decision in the end wasn't quite right. So once he gets that right with Savinho and him, then it's going to be quite dangerous.
They switched sides after about 20 minutes or so, didn't they? And made a big difference. And Erling Haaland obviously got a goal in the first game of the season. I tell you what I really liked was that when he was talking about his goal, he said, I don't know if you remember, but about a year ago, Sanchez saved one just like that, and I didn't get past him that time. So I made sure that I was going to get past him this time. And he sort of checked his run a little bit. He sort of passed it around, like he passed it around with himself a little bit, just to buy himself some time.
What happens is that strikers, you remember those things. You remember those things, and
he said it's been eating him up for a year.
A year. He's been thinking about that, and the amount of goals he's scored. But he will look back at a miss or a save and think, right, what can I do the next time? His feet there for a big man with two players in such close proximity was just brilliant. It's elitism.
The power he used as well, wasn't he, right? He didn't bounce them. He kind of just stood strong and kind of bounce off them.
His arm
to keep his balance, and then the composure to still like lift your head up, see where the keeper is, and the slightest little thing just shows the quality he has.
I think he goes into this season in a really fascinating position, because for all the goals he scored, 52 in his first season, he won the Golden Boot last season with 27 goals. barely gets mentioned in terms of player of the year or whatever. And I genuinely think he is probably one of the most underrated players, which seems a bit weird to say because obviously everyone knows he's an elite player. But it's as if everyone's got quite bored of his brilliance quite quickly. And I think that he's going to remind people that he is elite. He is a top.
Yeah, I think that's what happens with him, though, Darren, is that because that was his 100th appearance, wasn't it?
Yeah.
91.
91st goal.
Thank you. So the thing with that, Kels, is that
it's insane.
And people still talk about, oh, he hasn't hardly had a touch. Oh, his link-up plays. It's pathetic, the conversations on him. When you listen to somebody who can go that far back and realise what a goalkeeper does so he can make sure if he gets in a position again, he'll do it right. We're talking about a striker that's very much at the top of his game mentally.
Can I ask you a question on that sort of striker's perspective and striker's mindset? Because when everybody starts to play football, you want the ball. You want the ball all the time, and you want to be you're constantly calling for it. You're constantly trying to go and get it. When you have to be so disciplined that your job is just to, a lot of times for Haaland, it's the work he does off the ball. It's dragging defenders out of the way. It's stretching the defence. It's all of that. How much of a switch in mindset does that take?
No, to be honest, Kels, because that's part of the centre-forward game, which I had to learn very quickly when I went to Crystal Palace, because when I was playing on Sunday morning, I would just run over the top, they pass the ball and I'd do it, go and score the goal or try and have a shot. But then you learn that you have to make this runs because he's doing that. And you can imagine with a Manchester City side, there's so many working parts that he has to do those kind of runs. He has to hold the ball up in certain places. This is why people maybe criticise his hold-up play, because things are happening once he's doing that. He's got to link that so this can happen, it can come here and can do that. And but his main job is to finish those chances. I don't care about Erling Haaland's link-up play, if I'm going to be totally honest. There's enough players in the team what can deal with that, where he comes into certain areas. But if we're talking about running into space to open space for Kevin De Bruyne and Phil Foden, yeah, but he knows I don't need to worry about how many touches I have because I'm going to have touches in the box and I'll score.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's the reason why I think Guardiola wanted to buy Harry Kane to be a penalty box player. I know he loves to drop deep and he likes to take up positions where he can deliver balls in behind, but actually he wanted someone in the box to be a killer. I think that's what Haaland is. And when you talk about drawing players out of position, he reminds me a lot of Hristo Stoichkov, the Bulgarian, barrel-chested striker who used to play alongside Romario, the Brazilian, for Barcelona. And that's exactly what he used to do, draw players out of position so that Romario could run into the spaces. As far as Haaland is concerned, you look at the two defenders on him. If he didn't get a shot away, he would have been able to square it for someone else to score because that's what he does. He occupies defenders so well. I think he'll break some records this season.
When I saw him, I was lucky enough to go on pre-season and I saw him before and I was like, how are you feeling? He said, honestly, this 5 weeks has been so hard. I've been raring to get back. And if you heard his interview yesterday, he basically said, this is the first time I've come into a season with zero pain. Wow. So he's ready to break some more records.
Yeah.